Hello everyone and welcome back to Gettle.
This is episode 6.
My name is Hans.
And I'm Edward.
And thank you once again for joining us.
Yeah, for sure. For 6th week in a row.
Can you believe it? We're actually at episode 6.
It always boggles my mind how quick time flies.
It has been going quite quickly, to be honest with you. I mean, the fact that last week was a full month, and it felt like 2 or 3 weeks into this
literally,
thing.
like,
hey,
we were
it's
still
really great.
experimenting.
Yeah, well, we're still experimenting.
Exactly, so that I guess that's why it feels so
With
quick.
that said, again, thank you to all of you who are listening. We do see the metrics. We love it.
Yep.
It's so impressive to see where in the world you're all listening from. So hi, Japan, Italy,
And Australia.
And Spain. It's really, really awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
So earlier this week, Edward and I were talking about thinking. How does one think? Like, what do you hear or see in your mind when you think?
Oh.
And I remember you asking me this very question, and I told you that I hear my own monologue. I hear a voice. But at the same time, I also picture things. Like, for example, I can picture a word if I need to know how to spell it.
And that's so weird.
And yeah, you thought that was strange, right?
Because the thing is, I talk to myself. That's how I think.
So yours is purely an internal monologue.
Always. So I even answer myself if I like, in order to think, I ask questions. Like I always ask. That's just how I was brought up. And I always answer myself, and that's how I think. Never ever have I had words or images or just nothing
At all in your thinking
no,
process?
I don't get that.
But
I
there
don't
must
do that.
be.
It's no.
Okay.
Like
That's
I
interesting.
can image something. I can imagine seeing something.
Yes.
But then it's a still image or a scene or something.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. So, like for myself, for example, if I wanted to spell the word phenomenal, I can actually make the word appear in my mind and see the letters. That's why I know how to spell it.
No, see, the moment you just said that, I was like, how do I spell phenomenal?
Oh.
And then I heard myself saying PHEN, and I actually don't know the entire word.
O-N-E-N.
Yeah. So the moment you said that, I tried seeing a word, and all I actually heard was, how do I spell phenomenal?
Okay,
and I heard them.
That's very interesting. Well, the reason why I bring this up
Yeah.
is because I read something very interesting from a scientific journal, which talks about a patient AB. That's just the signifier they gave this person.
Okay.
Because obviously, information needs to be kept under wraps. But to cut a long story short, this lady ended up having an internal monologue by 2 other voices who told her that she had brain cancer and she needed to go to a specialist to have it seen to.
Okay.
And the reason why it's weird and strange is because at first she obviously thought she was going insane. And
I would too.
Yeah, she went to a psychiatrist and they evaluated her and then they gave her medication and so on and so forth. But eventually the voices came back and they came back even stronger. And then they started telling her things that she shouldn't know. Like addresses of where to go. And when they got there, it was a practice for like a neurologist. Crazy things like that. And the voices actually said to her, "We hope you don't mind that we're contacting you this way." Which is very, very strange. And it gives it a very ethereal feel.
It sounds like a television show.
Yes, and rightly so. It's almost as if it's people were telepathically linking to her, or maybe ghosts, or whatever the case is.
Or future selves.
Or something,
maybe?
Yeah, perhaps. Either way, she did manage to eventually have a brain scan done, after doctors didn't want to initially, and so on and so forth. And when they did, they found she had a massive tumor on her brainstem. To the point of, if she had left it, she would have died.
So basically, this random 2 voices that started speaking to her.
Yes.
How would they know?
Well, so now this is where a lot of people start hypothesizing about what actually happened.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there are different schools of thought. Either you believe in the supernatural, where it could be someone with abilities, or maybe somebody from the future,
talking to you.
Alternatively, you could possibly think of it from a more scientific, explainable perspective, whereby it's your subconscious trying to reach out because it knows something that cannot be perceived by your conscious mind.
But why would your subconscious have a different voice than
Well, you see, now again, this comes down to, do you believe we use the full power of our brain, or do you think perhaps we do have unlocked potential? right?
Right, that makes sense.
Anyway, what makes the story even more fascinating is that after she had the operation, the voices came back and they said, "Thank you so much for listening. We're going to go now. Goodbye." And she never heard from them again.
That gives me the goosies. Like, this could be an episode of Legion.
Or X-Files or
It's
something,
weird.
right? And I'm actually glad you brought that up. Because in many ways, this could be linked to like mutant abilities, right?
Yeah.
You know, as I said, you know, it's fanciful and it's fun to think about things like this. You know,
Yeah.
maybe somebody out there has mutant abilities and they knew that she needed this, so they reached out to her through her mind and so on.
Like Professor Xavier.
Yes, exactly. Now, on the topic of mutants and Marvel, last week we spoke about how Marvel was more scientific than DC.
Oh, yeah? Yes.
This week, we're going to speak about how Marvel is trying to be more politically correct than the rest of the world.
Oh, boy. I actually forgot about that for a little while.
So, for those who are not in the know, Marvel has announced 2 gender non-binary characters
Yes.
who go by the names of Safe Space.
And Snowflake.
Correct. Now, look, at first glance, I was like, what are you even trying to do, Marvel? Is this being run by boomers? Are you trying to be cool?
Yeah,
You know,
like-
hey, fellow kids, you know.
Like, this is... To me, it just seems so forced.
Yes, because they're also using gender stereotyped colors. Now, don't get me wrong, like, we accept everyone and anyone.
Yes.
Okay? So it doesn't really, you know, to us, it's not a concern. What is a concern, though, is you're trying to create characters, right, which are meant to be gender non-binary, and then you give them names which have been associated in a derogatory manner within the spheres of
Yeah.
people like millennials.
And now you're telling
Okay.
us to accept those names and make it mainstream as a badge.
Correct. And also by using gender stereotyped colors, the pink and the blue.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, if you wanted to create gender non-binary colors, first of all, why even give them a race?
Yeah.
Okay, just make them a different color entirely. Yellow, orange, blue, pink, who cares? Secondly, stay away from gender stereotyped colors.
Yeah.
Because a boy wearing pink doesn't mean anything. It's
just
a color.
anti-boy.
No, it's a color.
But
Oh,
you get
yes.
what I'm saying.
Stereotypically.
Yes.
Stereotypically, it's anti-boy because it would be girl, right?
Yes.
And that's what bothers me, because they could have picked any color. Why pick the gender stereotype ones? Granted, I'm sure it's because they're trying to make a statement. They're trying to be like, look, you know, by calling it the one Snowflake and the other one Safe Space, you know, they're really like on the nose of this culture.
And that's the biggest issue.
Look, I find it strange.
Yeah.
I feel it could have been handled in a better way. You know, these are people who want to be represented, and I don't feel this is the best way of representing it. That's
forcing
just
it
my
too much.
personal opinion. Yeah.
I totally agree. It's just there are better ways to do it, and I want these people to be included. It's just this is the wrong way to do it.
Look, again, as well, I will also admit, perhaps we're not the best people to be speaking about this.
We aren't
you know?
falling in it.
Yes, we don't fall in the non-gender binary
Exactly.
group. So for those of you who are out there, if any of you are listening, by all means, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear how you feel or what you think about this.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, like, that's the honest truth.
Yeah.
The best way to do this is to reach out to these communities
The
and
best-
find out.
Yeah, and
you know?
conversation is always good to keep.
Because perhaps maybe no one is offended.
Yeah.
And now we're just getting offended for people.
yeah, like we are literally getting offended for someone we really can identify with.
Now, speaking about being offended, so if for those of you who did listen to last week's episode, you will remember that we spoke about PlayStation fanboys and how crazy they were getting in terms of the fact that PlayStation exclusives are now heading towards PC. Well, this week has been sensational from a gaming perspective.
Yep.
We finally have information about the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5.
Finally, after all this time.
Granted, Microsoft has been far more forthcoming
Yes.
in terms of information. Sony is still remaining mum in terms of design, but at least we know what specs the new PlayStation 5 will have.
In terms of specs, we have a lot.
A lot of good information.
Yeah.
Now, we have mentioned before, we're not Digital Foundry, so we're not going to delve too much into what the specs mean, but we do want to talk about certain aspects of each console and what it could mean for gaming going forward.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
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 So let's start with the Xbox Series X, the refrigerator.
As we all know it.
Yes. Thank you for these wonderful memes, Edward. So interestingly enough, Microsoft took a very different approach to revealing the information for the Series X. They managed to contact a lot of YouTube personalities, as well as prominent websites, and invited them over to Seattle to actually have hands-on with the machine. And there they managed to tell the people about the specs, and they explored it. They even got to build the Series X, which honestly looks
with like
incredible.
A mock build. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Personally, I really, really enjoy the way Microsoft is handling the situation.
It's fun.
Correct. For those who don't know, the Game Developers Conference was supposed to take place in March.
Yeah.
Now, normally, this is the time of the year where if new consoles are coming, it's where major publishers like Microsoft and Sony would talk about the specs of their new machines. Okay? Given that GDC was cancelled because of coronavirus, Microsoft apparently shifted gears and totally changed the way they wanted to reveal information to the public. And in my personal opinion, it's been a fantastic success.
Yeah.
Sony, on the other hand, in my opinion, has been a total train wreck.
I totally agree with you. So basically what Sony did is they took the speech they would have gone with at GDC, and they literally made a video of that speech, not changing any aspect of it.
Okay, can we just talk about how bad that video was?
It was
please?
so bad.
It even had a fake audience.
Yes.
For those who haven't seen it.
Okay, look. The argument currently
No, it was
going
bad.
around,
I'm sorry.
The argument currently going around is that it was good for developers. It wasn't meant for gamers. But Sony should have known that millions of gamers would be looking at this video.
You see, this is the thing now, and this is why this misstep feels so apparent.
Yeah.
It's because Microsoft shifted gears
Yeah.
and created content that is easily consumed by consumers.
It could be adapted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they got like Digital Foundry to tell everybody, oh, this is the processor, this is the multi-threading performance, this is the SSD, and so on and so forth. Then they got YouTubers like Austin Evans, who actually has his own way of portraying, tech and content.
And his own fun while building the mock
Exactly,
Xbox
and
One
making
X.
jokes at the expense of Microsoft. And
Yeah.
it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Then Sony, after this happens,
Right after.
Microsoft does this phenomenal drop of information, they just release the most boring and terribly put together video of something that was clearly meant for only developers,
Yeah.
but they then put it on YouTube for fans to consume.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the viewership numbers go from almost 500,000 down to about 60,000 within minutes. The moment people understood that this was not going to be a fun showcase, this was not an Austin Evans type video of, oh, cool, this is what the PS5 looks like, and
Yeah.
this is what it has, and no. And yeah, it's bad.
And it's sad because I really wanted to see what Sony is capable of in this digital age.
So this is the main issue, is the fact that Sony's PlayStation 5 has a truly cutting-edge solid-state drive.
Of course, it has a lot of technologies going for it.
That's right. I mean, it has bandwidth speeds of 5.5 gigabytes a second, which is unheard of. There is currently
it's
nothing on the
unprecedented.
market that has that kind of a raw base speed. And then with compression, that goes up to 9 gigabytes a
Which is
second.
amazing.
I mean, if you compare this now to Series X, which has a raw speed of only 2.3 or 2.4 and a compressed speed of 4.8
Just
gigabytes
under
a
5,
second,
yeah.
correct? It shows that the SSD in Sony's machine is at a minimum twice as powerful.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why we're mentioning this is because this phenomenal SSD is, for all intents and purposes, currently being swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Because all consumers are seeing at the moment is, oh, well, if we look at the specs on paper in terms of teraflop performance and so on and so forth, Xbox Series X is 30% advantage.
Yeah. The thing is, if they, even with the specs being what they are, if Sony adapted their speech and got more content creators hands-on time with it, showed fans, listen, this is our specs, but this is what we can do with it.
Yes,
Like
agreed.
we may only have 10 teraflops compared to Xbox's 12. But look at what we can do with the loading times. Look at what the text streaming looks like on our console. If they did that, it would have been...
See, this is where I completely agree with you. So, again, just to put both into perspective, Microsoft showed fine current generation games, but it showcased how you can resume almost 6 of them at once, and how loading speeds drop to like 6 seconds.
Yeah.
You don't see anything from that perspective on Sony's side.
Like, from what we know of the specs, we know maybe the loading times would be 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Not even...
It's almost instantaneous.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we need to see that. Where people need to see that they want demo, they want footage.
Correct.
Before they believe anything.
No, I firmly agree with you on that point as well. And now that leads me to the next point that I wanted to make. So I want to stress that teraflops are not the be-all and end-all, right? Each of these systems have unique hardware and architecture that can be exploited by talented developers. Of course, people are only looking at the teraflop numbers. So it's, I don't know. Look, of course, we have to wait and see because the SSD and the PS5 is incredible. Yeah. And, we all know that both machines have their pluses and minuses. It's very, very interesting. It's starting to get very, very, very exciting, the new console race. So there's actually a lot to talk about in terms of Xbox Series X versus PlayStation 5.
Yep.
And so Edward and I want to deep dive this a little bit more. So we're happy to announce that from next week, we're going to have a special bonus episode in this regard.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, it is not going to be episode 7, but a dedicated bonus episode specifically for PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys will tune into that.
Yeah, it should be fun.
With that said, and still speaking about hardware, Apple released a lot of new tech this week.
Okay.
Have you seen the brand new Apple Magic Keyboard? Wait for it. For iPad.
It's beautiful. I have seen it, and it floats.
It is amazing. Yeah. Bridge, eat your heart out.
Yeah. Yeah, as a Bridge user, you would know. I am scared for the company.
Look, I'll be honest with you. No one expected, in my personal opinion, Apple to bring out a keyboard with a trackpad for iPad.
Yeah. And then it looks this good as well.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Honestly, for those of you out there listening, do yourselves a favor. Go to apple.com. Just have a look at the Apple Magic Trackpad for iPad. It is the most phenomenal device. It uses the new Switch keyboard. It's backlit. It has a trackpad. And it has this crazy new lever design, which I think they took from the brand new Mac Pro.
Maybe.
It looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
The fact that the iPad can just stick to it, pop off, and tilt back and forth like that. It also has USB charge through, apparently.
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing. Without any other connections to the iPad, because it uses those three... The smart port, yeah.
What I find incredible about it is it practically makes your iPad a MacBook now. And that goes back to Steve Jobs' entire original vision that for the iPad replacing the Mac.
Can I just please mention how I just bought Diona a MacBook Air and they just refreshed it?
Yep.
So I'm dying inside because I'm still paying that thing off.
Like a month ago.
Not even, it was like 3 weeks ago. So there's that, number one. But number two, I also just ordered a brand new MacBook Pro. I know that's being refreshed later this year, but you can't always keep up with tech.
Oh.
I needed a new one. With that said, if I think about how I use my iPad, right, and what I use it for, I never used to use my laptop before it was stolen. You know, my iMac was my primary daily driver, and my iPad was my secondary.
Yes.
And then my laptop was just went to waste. It was just there. Actually, you were using it, interestingly enough. And now that I've ordered one, it's a little bit of a different scenario, I guess, because I'm going to be using it to replace my iMac. But with that said, I mean, if I look at the iPad and this new keyboard, I'm like, should I have spent that money? A part of me is quite sad now.
That's a very good question. Because we know the iPad can do so many things equally or better than the MacBook.
Better. Ed, I must be honest with you. So, I've been wanting a new machine for a while, right? Because my iMac is about 5 years old now. And I've been getting into YouTube a lot more over the last couple of months. I've really been enjoying it. But trying to edit 4K videos on a 5-year-old iMac is a mission. And when I say 4K videos, I mean multi-angle 4K videos. Because if anyone is curious, I recently unboxed the brand new Animal Crossing New Horizons limited edition Nintendo Switch.
What a mouthful.
What a mouthful. And I use multiple cameras to give different angles. And obviously I'm shooting in 4K because that's now the new norm. And when I try to do that on my iMac, I actually can't. I have to import the files and then let Final Cut almost render it for about half an hour, 40 minutes, before I can edit. If I don't do that, I get consistent frame drops. So from that perspective, I'm very much looking forward to actually having a machine that won't do that, because the new MacBook Pro, regardless of whether there's going to be a new one this year or not, can do multiple 4K streams at once on its incredibly fast SSD and i9 processor.
Which is also incredible.
Exactly.
Side note, imagine that Sony SSD coming to the Macs.
Oh,
wow.
So right now, Macs have about 3.5 gigabytes a second speeds, right?
If
almost
I remember correctly.
Almost 4.
Yeah.
Sony's implementation uses 6-channel memory versus 2-channel memory, which most NVMEs have.
Yes.
And because of that, it has a base raw clock of 5.5 gigabytes a second. It's faster than anything on the market at the moment. It's incredible.
Yeah. So Macs are already fast. They read and write faster than my new PC. Imagine what they can do then.
Well, you see, so this was the point that I was trying to make, is that before my iPad was stolen, and which I haven't replaced yet, and I'm glad that I haven't because now I can get the brand new one, is that I installed LumaFusion on it, and I actually tried editing 4K video. And I was honestly shocked at just how good it is at editing multiple 4K streams at once. So from that perspective, if you think that the 2018 iPad Pro has that much power already, it's a natural extension then to give it a keyboard with a trackpad. Make it the new MacBook. Look, with that in mind, something else I should bring up is that it has been heavily rumored for a couple of years now that Apple wants to bring ARM processors, their custom-made ones, to the MacBooks. And I do feel that the new iPad for 2020 and that Magic Keyboard is the first step in that direction, into getting people acquainted with working on not only iOS, but an ARM-based system. I mean, just imagine MacBook Airs in 2021 coming with the iPad processor.
Yeah, that would be...
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Imagine them putting 2 or more babies in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, instead of the A12 Bionic Z, we'll have the A12 Bionic or Unity or whatever.
Or A13 Dual, which is basically like 2 A12s.
Exactly.
Look, the A12 right now is an incredible piece of tech because it is already faster than most base Windows machines.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about that, and it's in an iPad, I mean, you can just imagine what the future is going to be like.
Yeah, it's quite intriguing.
So naturally, I'm going to get the new iPad and the new keyboard.
Yes.
Of course, when that happens, we'll let you guys know, what I think about it and so on and so forth. But that all depends on how the coronavirus is impacting Apple's supply chain.
Okay.
And, speaking of the coronavirus, which we can't not speak about, because it is around, it's
literally life right now.
Although Edward and I right now are close to each other, we are still self-isolating as much as possible. Just putting that out there, just in case everybody thinks that,
we don't care.
There's actually a lot of news with regards to the coronavirus at the moment, specifically how a lot of countries are closing their borders. South Africa is one of them. In South Africa as well, we now have a new piece of legislation which actually fines people, as well as up to 6 months in jail if they spread false information, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
I think it's amazing.
It's the right move. Right move. But I know that you found something super mind-blowing about the word corona, right?
Yeah. Just random Googling, because that's what you do on the internet, especially when self-isolating. I found the name of the Tangled universe, or of the Tangled kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's Corona.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, on Twitter, someone just tweeted, Google the name of the kingdom in Tangled. That's all they tweeted. And I was mind blown when I did, because it's literally Corona. And it looks beautiful, and obviously it doesn't mean anything for the coronavirus.
Obviously not.
But it was quite mind blowing.
Well, I mean, technically, you know about Corona beer, right?
Yeah.
So another interesting point about that, because of the naming association,
Mm.
did you know that their stocks have or their sales
Dropped.
actually? So no, they've shot up by 40%.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird.
People are buying more Corona beer than staying away from
Probably
it.
to make all the memes.
Look, I don't know if that's the case or not. But it's interesting because your initial gut reaction is actually, stock would drop.
Yes.
Because it's associated with the virus.
Of course.
But no, it actually rose. It's the best kind of marketing anybody could ask for. Having the name Corona in the news 24/7.
Yeah.
So now when people Google it, okay, sure, you should actually be Googling COVID-19. But anyway, if you do, you'll come across Corona breweries and
That's actually super cool.
And now, of course, with Corona on the mind, I have told you this before, but toilet paper is the currency of the future.
Yes.
Judging by Australia, first of all, and then America, and the rest of the other nations, including South Africa, I might add.
Which I don't get.
Okay. People, Pick and Pay cancelled my order, okay? I ordered foodstuffs with toilet paper in the thing, because as one does when you need some toilet paper supply.
Yeah.
And they called me and cancelled because they were out. I was like, I didn't even order much. I just give me my 18 rolls, please.
Yeah, my usual purchase.
Yes, my normal purchase. Anyway, crisis averted. I managed to get toilet paper elsewhere, but I just thought, how crazy that one of South Africa's biggest retailers
They ran out.
ran out of toilet paper.
Well, I did a bit of searching about why people are obsessed with toilet paper.
Yes.
I couldn't find anything.
Look,
Spoiler alert.
Fallout tells us it should be
Bottle
bottle
caps.
caps.
Yeah.
Okay. But apparently toilet paper is the
The bottle
currency
caps
of the future.
of
yeah.
real life. So I couldn't find anything.
Okay.
So moving right ahead, I found something else.
Okay.
I found the website called howmuchtoiletpaper.com.
Okay.
So say you're at home, you're on the loo, and you're staring at your pack of toilet paper in the corner, dreading the day you have to go out in this lockdown to buy some.
Okay.
Why dread that day? Why not just work out how many days you have left before you need to? So howmuchtoiletpaper.com, basically, it lets you insert how many rolls you have left and how many times a day you go to the loo. And it intelligently works out approximately how many days you have left with the current stock in your house.
But hold on.
Yeah?
What is the mathematics behind
I
this?
have zero idea.
Okay, maybe this is TMI for the Gettle podcast, but y'all bitches who use 2 pieces of paper.
Oh no, please,
Okay.
don't come with me with that 2-piece peasantry.
So, I'm just thinking, from my perspective, maybe I do use a little too much toilet paper when I do go.
Maybe.
But I mean,
we have a semi-full pack at home, okay, because we always buy the 48 packs.
Okay, yeah.
And between...
It's the most cost effective.
Yeah, between the missus and I, it usually lasts us a long while.
Yeah.
More than a month.
Yes.
But on howmuchtoiletpaper.com, I worked it out and they told me it would last me half a year.
See, this is what I'm saying.
And I even upped the number of times we go because I have my usual...
Okay, yes.
For a normal human being should go at least once a day.
Minimum, please.
No, I upped that quite a bit.
Okay.
To make sure it compensates for maybe when something happens and also the misses.
Diarrhea.
Yeah.
Diarrhea.
And even then, it told me 170 something days.
You see, this is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because a lot of people are like, oh no, the way to use toilet paper is 2 pieces. I'm like, bitch, if you're using 2 pieces to wipe your butt, okay, then we all know your fingernails are going to be dirty.
You ain't got no poop in
Okay,
there.
please. Let's just be honest here for a second. In which case, of course, it brings up the whole point of maybe we should all have a bidet. Which I would absolutely go for.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Japan, I had my tush caressed by wonderful Japanese toilets. And
warm water.
I would be very happy to have that here as well.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's another reason I don't get the toilet paper buying.
Yeah, it's
because I would
strange.
gladly spray my butthole off with water if need be. You know?
Yes.
So I don't know.
Look, I agree. I'm also somebody who likes to use wet wipes more than toilet paper. And for those who are wondering, I do have biodegradable ones and I keep it to a minimum, but I like to be super clean. So wet wipes are the future, is what I'm trying to say.
Or bidets.
I'm staying on the topic of coronavirus. You said there was something else that popped up this week. So
Yeah.
we mentioned Pornhub last week.
Yes.
And how they're giving free subs to everybody in Spain.
Yes.
Good on you, Pornhub, as well as contributing to coronavirus research, right?
Yes. So basically, Pornhub decided to also give free subs to France and Spain as well as Italy.
Hashtag good guy Pornhub.
Of course. They are literally the heroes of this lockdown.
Look, for those who may not know, Europe is currently the epicenter of the pandemic. So, everybody must stay indoors.
Yes.
So good job for at least easing the pain. Or
Yeah.
sorry, easing the isolation.
Yeah, let's get working, I guess. if that's the best term
speaking
for it.
of, I have to mention.
Yeah.
So you know how a lot of people are through isolation, through self-isolation, have to work from home.
Yes.
Now that means that because you're at home, you might technically not just be working on your machine.
Yeah.
Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you're going to be using your work machine for anything other than work, please make sure that you don't have some sort of a keylogger program built in that is based on work.
Or spyware.
Or not necessarily spyware, but screen sharing tech. So there's this email that is making the rounds because this guy, assumedly, when he uses his computer, it logs into work. But then it also shows work, everything that you're doing. And allegedly, between inquiries...
Oh no.
between inquiries that he was dealing with, obviously because he's working at home, he was watching porn.
Wow.
And so he got an email from his boss just saying,
Can you stop?
hi, if you're going to do that, please disconnect the screen share.
Wow. We all watch porn. Okay, whatever. That's natural. But to do it on a work device, at least be smart about it. Wow. Jeez. Okay.
You also mentioned that apparently YouTube and Netflix are asking people to reduce their consumption.
So basically what's happening is while Pornhub's stocks are rising by the double digits and they're giving everyone full HD 4K subs, Netflix and YouTube is feeling a heavy brunt of everyone staying home in Europe. So what Netflix started it. They just said, listen, we can't accommodate everyone. We're sorry. Suddenly, all the kids are watching their Netflix streams.
Oh, of course, because all the kids are at home.
And all the parents are streaming their 4K movies. We can't do this. So they downed their quality, I think, to 1080p max.
That's all right.
So, while paying for the 4K subscription.
Yeah, but I mean, look, you've got to do what you've got to do.
Yeah,
I mean,
you do.
This is technically, I guess, what you'd call a worst case scenario for Netflix.
Yes.
Whereby, generally speaking, people might stream a few hours a day in the evenings after work. And even then, some people go out, so they don't even go home to stream. Yeah. Right? Now, everybody is at home.
Every single person
during work hours. And now they're just streaming everything to their heart's content.
That's work hours, that's play hours, that's all hours just all of a sudden together. And also YouTube followed suit. The news came out this morning for us in South Africa that YouTube also to start implementing the quality drops. I'm not sure to which quality this is. It's quite new still.
Look, this is incredible.
Yeah,
You know what I'm hoping comes from this? Better compression technologies.
Yes.
It makes me think of HBO Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
You know, Pied Piper, they developed that compression tech and was supposed to revolutionize everything. Now, we all know that Netflix's compression tech is actually incredible. Yeah, you can watch very high quality video on like a really bad connection. Yep. So the fact that they are struggling with this really tells you how much it's actually being used.
Actually, with you saying that, maybe it's the compression on the server end.
Oh, I see.
Making the server take the brunt of it.
Yes.
Maybe. Which means they need worse compression tech.
Well, I think they should speak to Sony. Get some Sony PS5 SSDs.
And that's pretty much the Corona update. Okay. So while Pornhub is flourishing, Netflix and YouTube is dying.
Actually, that's so funny because you don't hear of Pornhub reducing their quality.
Exactly.
Okay, but honestly speaking, though, more people watch Netflix and YouTube.
Yes.
Okay.
But still.
But even so,
I think giving
very,
free
very,
subs to the entire nation would make your
You're
service
right, actually. Hey,
burn.
come to a crawl.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
But, and that's it. On that bombshell.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
tuning into episode 6 of Gettle.
Yeah.
It actually ended up being quite sexy.
Yeah, it was. It ended on a very illustrious note.
Right? We thank you all for tuning in every week. As always, if you do enjoy this, please do leave us a review.
Yeah.
Or actually contact us on Twitter.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Get in touch.
we love to hear from you people.
Get the
So-
conversation flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's anything you'd like us to speak about, let us know.
Yeah.
Because we're open to everything and anything.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And we will see you all next week.
Have a lovely one.
Ciao for now.
Bye bye.